Welcome to Politics Unusual. I'm Morgan McKay. The first mayoral debate of the general election is now over. So what's next? We're bringing in our reporter roundtable to hash out where the three candidates go from here. Next, we're taking a look at the three ballot propositions with the director of an affordable housing group. Then we're diving into the New Jersey governor's race. But first,
what I don't have in experience, I make up for in integrity. And what you don't have in integrity, you could never make up for in experience.
Yeah. If the assemblyman is elected mayor, Donald Trump will take over New York City, and it will be Mayor Trump.
Your parole board released 43 cop killers back into the street.
Okay,
Your father, when he was governor, released none. I knew Mario Cuomo. You know Mario Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo.
Sparks were flying at the first debate, but were any of the candidates able to sway voters? Joining us now for our reporter roundtable is Jeff Coltin with Politico and Josie Stratman with the New York Daily News. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Absolutely.
So let's break down each candidate. I feel like that's the easiest way to do it. Let's start with Zohran Mamdani. He's the front runner in this race. Jeff, what do you guys think? Or what did Politico kind of think about the race and, the debates? Do you feel like he was able to come out without any major mistakes?
Yes. I mean, we were basically waiting to see, would he screw this up? Because he has a huge, comfortable lead in this race right now. Every poll has shown at least double digits. Sometimes, I mean, there was a poll last night up to 24-point lead over Cuomo. So really the pressure was on Mamdani just to like maintain. And I think he did more than maintain. I think he pivoted very effectively from being in the primary debates, being the scrappy underdog who was chasing Cuomo, to now being a pretty comfortable front runner. He seemed to have a command of the issues. He was ready with all of his weaknesses. He was ready with the defense. And overall, I think he was reminding people why he's in this position, because he's an incredibly talented communicator, you know? I mean, he's got weaknesses, don't get me wrong, but he is very good on this debate stage.
And speaking of those weaknesses, I would say probably Israel, public safety, those were some of the areas that maybe he saw his biggest hits. What do you think, Josie?
Right. I mean, and those are areas that Cuomo really did go in on. In the first hour alone, I counted at least 3 times that Cuomo brought up some past tweets from Mamdani, slamming the NYPD as racist and anti-queer. So this is a bit of a sore spot for Mamdani. He's been able, through his Department of Community Safety, to go on the offense a little bit with that issue, but it's still tough. And he did on Wednesday in comments to a different news outlet kind of waver a little bit on a question about Hamas, and he did correct himself on Thursday, saying that he does want Hamas to lay down their weapons, but these are tough areas for him.
Speaking of Andrew Cuomo, now he seemed to really kind of come out with a lot of energy. It seemed to a little bit waver as it went on, but what was his standout moment, do you think?
Ooh, I think he was able to, I think the New York Police Department moments were strong for him.
His NYPD, what do you think?
Agreed. I mean, he has that experience. The one thing he can hammer both candidates on, undeniably, is that he was governor for 11 years. He was attorney general for 4 years, HUD before that. I mean, if people are looking for somebody who has experience, Andrew Cuomo is the guy. And he constantly reminded people of that last night. He was calling back to building housing as HUD secretary, to his father. He was reminding us again that his father was governor for 12 years before him. So, again, that was a strength, and he maintained. I don't think that Cuomo necessarily picked up a lot of new voters last night, but I think those that were already supporting Cuomo would have been pretty happy with his performance. He was really reminding people why they liked him in the first place.
Yeah, and his experience is a little bit of a double-edged sword because he definitely got hit on his record as governor. What did you think was maybe his weakest point?
The weakest point is he was constantly on the defensive and explaining himself. I mean, my colleagues and I wrote about this, that, you know, if you're explaining, you're losing. And both Mamdani and Sliwa were really pushing him. And Cuomo seemed almost pedantic at times, having to be, well, you know this, you know that. And, you know, I guess that's maybe good for an op-ed, but that's not great when you're on the debate stage where it needs to be snappier. It needs to be more of an emotional answer. And you know, hitting people, and he was just on his back foot for so much of the debate.
And now, Curtis Sliwa, I think this was the moment that the world got introduced to Curtis Sliwa last night, and my X feed was just filled with people, his one-line zingers that he was throwing out all night last night. Do you think, to me, it came off that he had a pretty good night. I thought he came off as a little bit more of a moderate voice, I think, in all of the commotion last night. What do you think?
Yeah, look, one of the worst things that you can be in a New York election is a Donald Trump supporter, and Sliwa, I think, really played that balance well of, yes, I'm the Republican nominee, but no, I'm not Donald Trump. And instead, he was reminding everyone constantly he is the New Yorker. I mean, he's got so much street cred. He was talking about getting shot 5 times.
Yes.
He's talking about talking to homeless New Yorkers on the streets, riding the subways. I mean, even if people don't like Sliwa, a lot of people respect that history that he's bringing to the table. And of course, he is a professional entertainer. I mean, he's been a radio host for decades, and you could see that last night. I mean, we were cracking up in the office multiple times, just like, he's funny, and we were enjoying that, and I'm sure viewers did too.
Yeah, he said he doesn't take cabs because the last time he took a cab, he says he got shot by the mob. Josie, what do you think was maybe his weakness that maybe was an awkward moment for him?
Right. I mean, he did have a bit of perhaps a senior moment when he was asked about his favorite president and favorite mayor.
Yeah.
He answered to both George Pataki, who was neither.
Yes.
And he even admitted after leaving, and he talked to reporters, he said, yeah, he thinks he slipped up a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was a long debate. It was 2 hours,
Yes.
not really any breaks. So this is a marathon, and it's dense. The moderators were asking really good in-depth questions, so it is a lot for a candidate to be up there, staying poised, staying put together, and stringing together coherent sentences even.
Yeah, 2 hours was a lot even for a viewer, I felt like, but they did get to a lot of different topics. Now, after this, what can we expect? I know after the primary, Mamdani was able to receive an endorsement from Congresswoman AOC after his primary debate. Are we expecting maybe, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries to weigh in? He said he was going to weigh in before early voting starts. What do you think?
That's right. I mean, the clock is ticking. Early voting starts on Saturday, October 25th. Jeffries has all but said he's going to endorse before that. Yeah. So, of course, there's another debate next Wednesday, so could happen after that, whatever. But, at this point, I mean, Mamdani needed those big momentum-shifting endorsements in the primary. In the general election, again, he just needs to coast into November. He just needs to maintain. And I think he is doing that. He did announce yesterday that he's going to have a big rally with AOC and with Bernie Sanders on that Sunday, October 26th. So, of course, we already know that Bernie and AOC are supporting Mamdani, but this is going to be, I think, a really energetic base building. I'm sure it's going to be big on social media event for Mamdani's core voters, young lefties and New Yorkers who idolize Sanders and AOC.
Yeah. Now, Mayor Eric Adams, a lot of pressure on him right now to endorse likely Andrew Cuomo. What do you think he's going to do? And do you think it matters?
It doesn't matter, not really. I mean, he already had such a low number of voters on his side already, so we're talking maybe 7% of the electorate. But, he's still the sitting mayor. There is certainly some power in that. I know his longtime close advisor, Frank Carone, has been in his ear pretty much since he dropped out of the race, since Mayor Adams dropped out of the race late last month, encouraging him to put his political weight, whatever it might be, behind Cuomo. And then Cuomo, for his part, has said that he'll basically take any support. He acknowledges that he's an independent candidate, which comes with some disadvantages, even if you're an ex-governor. So he'll take the endorsement if it comes.
Do you think all three candidates are going to try to ride the wave to this next debate? What do you think is going to be their strategy going forward?
I have to think that Cuomo is going to be encouraged to try something new in the next debate. Again, he maintained his support in this debate, I think, but if he wants to make up that big gap with Mamdani, if Cuomo wants to win, he's going to need to try something new. I don't think I heard any real new arguments from Cuomo last night. I was kind of waiting to hear, is he going to break out some, oppositional research, something we haven't heard yet, a new argument against Mamdani. But it was the same arguments, and those arguments work on a segment of the voting population, but clearly not enough of the voting population. So I'm really interested and eager to see how the candidates pivot, particularly Cuomo, between last night and the debate on Wednesday night.
Right. I don't think we can really expect to see anything majorly different in approach from Mamdani. He did a good job last night. He's just trying to protect his front-runner status, not trip up or make any huge mistakes. So he'll likely just copy-paste the same performance is his hope.
I'm at least excited for Wednesday. I will see you guys there, I'm sure. So I hope you guys get some sleep after that long night last night. So thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Coming up next, on the back of your ballot, there will be 6 ballot propositions. We're going to break down 3 of these proposals that could fast-track housing projects. Welcome back to Politics Unusual. When you head to the polls in a few weeks, don't forget to flip over your ballot, because there you will find 6 questions that could change the state's constitution and revise the city charter if approved. Now, Democrats are split on 3 of the ballot propositions that relate to housing. Last week, we spoke with the city council speaker about why she is urging voters to vote no. But joining us now to give the other side is Amit Bagga, the campaign director for the group Yes on Affordable Housing. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me, Morgan. Great to be back.
So let's break down the ballot propositions one by one. So you want voters to vote yes on 2, 3, and 4. And we'll start with 2. So this one would fast track affordable housing projects, speed up the review, but cut out the city council, who usually decides whether these projects proceed. Explain more.
Sure. So we're actually encouraging voters to vote yes on 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we can talk about all 4. And together, proposals 2 and 3 essentially fast track exactly the type of housing that New Yorkers so desperately need. We are in an unprecedented affordable housing crisis. Only 1 out of every 100 apartments is actually available for rent. Rents are skyrocketing, and we saw an unprecedented number of New Yorkers propelled to the polls in June by the fact that the rent is just too damn high, or in some cases the mortgage. Fully 50% of renters and homeowners are underwater. So proposals 2 and 3 basically fast track 4 types of housing: 100% affordable housing in all parts of the city, housing projects that are a minimum of 25% affordable or more in the 12 community districts that have produced the least amount of housing in the last 5 years, as well as just a little bit more housing without changing zoning. So if you're in a low density neighborhood, you could build a 1 to 4-story building, adding maybe 5, 10, 15 units. And in a high density neighborhood, you could fast track the construction of an additional 30% of square footage of your existing building. So what this means is if you're, let's say, in a high density neighborhood in Manhattan or Brooklyn and you have an 8-story building, you could make that 10 stories for housing.
So the city council speaker said last week that this process would cut out the city council and cut out community input, as she put it. Why do you guys disagree with that?
Well, first of all, community board input is certainly totally preserved under proposals 2 and 3, as well as 4. It's just fast-tracked, meaning that it happens simultaneously to other parts of the process. Currently, if you want to propose a project, the shortest amount of time it can take from just an idea to even approving the concept is 9 months, essentially. So this takes it from 9 months to 90 days. But that does not even account for sometimes the years that go into pre-negotiating a deal for even a small building with the city council, which really requires an enormous amounts of time and money. And the only types of developers that can invest the $4 million in 4 years that it takes to go from idea to shovel in the ground are corporate landlords, which means that the housing that gets developed on the other side tends to be very expensive. And what every single New Yorker from the Bronx to Brooklyn knows is that we need more affordable housing, we need it faster, we need it cheaper, and we need it now. And so that's what these proposals are really all about.
One of the arguments I've heard as well is that there are some members in the city council that will kill a project that maybe the community still wants. And do you agree with that?
Well, look, our housing system right now is broken. It's part of the reason why it just takes far too long to get housing built. And in many instances, there have been hundreds of thousands of units that are never even proposed because a developer or a community feels that they're never going to be able to get it through the council. And that's often because a very small group of people in a particular council district will end up wielding an outsized amount of power over the process and basically force council members into what is an impossible choice. Either block housing or lose your seat. And we've seen multiple instances, most recently Marjorie Velasquez in the Bronx, who had the courage to actually approve housing and a lot of affordable housing in the Bronx, which is experiencing the housing crisis most acutely compared to any other borough, and she lost her seat as a result. And so what Proposal 4 will really do is finally release the vice grip that this system has over individual council members, liberating them to actually participate in solving what is a citywide problem that demands a citywide solution, which means we need to build housing in every part of the city, faster, cheaper, and everywhere.
Let's talk about that Proposal 4 really quickly. And this one would establish an appeals board, which would include the city council speaker, the local borough president, and the mayor. So if the council strikes down an affordable housing project, they can then go to this appeals board. Why are you guys in favor of this?
So this is really laser focused on just making sure that New York City is producing the affordable housing that working New Yorkers need to survive. This appeals board can only take a look at a project that's been killed by the council, and they can only take a look at the components of that project that relate to affordable housing. And if the project is killed at the council level, they can reinstate the affordable housing components back to what the Department of City Planning had already approved. What's good about this is that we can make sure that affordable housing that working New Yorkers needs actually gets developed. And there's another component to this, which is because the appeals board exists, council members now actually have a real incentive to negotiate the best possible deal they can at the council level with developers and the community to extract concessions and investments on infrastructure, schools, parks, etc., so that a project never has to end up before the appeals board.
And Governor Kathy Hochul also urging voters to support these 3 ballot propositions as well. Amit, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. We're hearing from New Yorkers about which issues matter the most to them in the race for mayor. Plus, a new poll is out on the race for New Jersey governor. In a little more than 2 weeks, New Jersey voters will cast their ballots for governor, and a new poll released this week shows us again how close this race really is. According to the latest Quinnipiac poll, Democrat Mikey Sherrill holds a slight lead over Republican Jack Ciattarelli. Sherrill with 50%, Ciattarelli with 44%. It comes after an Emerson College poll last month showed the two in a dead heat. Turning to the New York City mayor's race, we spoke with New Yorkers about which issues are most important to them, with early voting just about a week away.
Housing, like how much it costs to rent and stuff like that. I think that's a big issue.
Crime and gun violence and safer subways and just safer streets being safer, just safety in general.
I think it's economics. We have a lot of poor people in the country and a lot of unhappy people.
I want this mayor to make people friendly, not to be enemies between one and another.
And if you haven't registered to vote yet, the last day to register is October 25th. Next up, we're going to test your knowledge of the tri-state region, so stay with us. We're flashing back to this week in history. On October 15th, 1923, the New York Yankees won their first of 27 World Series titles, defeating the New York Giants in 6 games. Legends like Babe Ruth were playing on the team at the time. Finally, tonight we're testing your knowledge of some local history. Last week we asked you, on October 6, 1927, the first all-singing, all-talking feature film, The Jazz Singer, premiered in New York City. What theater hosted the premiere? The answer, The Warner's Theater, which was named after the Warner Brothers. The theater was demolished in 1952, and today a hotel stands on the site. Now, a few of you guys guessed Apollo Theater, which was a good guess, so please keep them coming. Now, to this week's question. The New York World's Fair was held for 2 years in which park before closing in 1965? Now, don't Google the answer, but if you want to take a shot at it, go ahead, scan that code on your screen. That's going to take you to our website, fox5ny.com, where you can type in your answer, then check back here next week to see if you're right. That does it for this episode of Politics Unusual. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Morgan McKay. Remember, you can stream Battlegrounds NYC, the fight for your vote, live on the Fox Local app. Have a safe night. Extras up next.